What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Big Stacks Bazingas, PB the Plug, 1/4 through the wire, aka Mr. Know-It-All, the number one Knicks fan in the world. And of course, I had to come to y'all and give y'all my thoughts on the Daryl Morey joining the Philadelphia 76ers as the president of basketball operations. Now, listen, I am first and foremost happy for Daryl Morey to now get another chance to redeem himself. You know what I mean? I feel like we don't know exactly who and what Daryl Morey is as a front office personnel person. The Houston Rockets situation is hard to judge him by, especially when you can try to figure out what decisions was his and what ideas was Mike D'Antoni, whatever. You know what I mean? And one thing or one job doesn't define who you are and what you do. You know, so we can't judge coaches off one team that they've coached. We can't judge players off one team that they play for. I think it takes an overall observation of who they are, and I think this is a chance for Daryl Morey to show us exactly who he is. This is a team with the Philadelphia that isn't as limited as the Houston Rockets, and what I mean by that is they kind of have a nice roster front to bottom, top to bottom. They don't have just guys full of just shooting and defense. And I think it's going to be different. Automatically, it's going to be different than what we saw from Houston just because their two best players aren't anything like James Harden. You're working with two guys who are kind of actually the opposite. These guys are not guards, number one, as far as like shooting guards. Ben Simmons is like a point forward, 6'10 guy who's not shooting three ball at all. Joel Embiid is, a modern NBA who's still going to post up but has the ability to shoot the three occasionally. But anybody who knows how good Joel Embiid is close to the basket, you don't want to see Joel Embiid shooting that many threes. You like the fact that he can, and occasionally it's okay, but you don't want him settling too much, and that's something that we've seen in the past with Joel Embiid and the Sixers. Is as good as Joel Embiid is, there's moments where we see him float around the three-point line. A lot of people tried to put that on Ben Simmons, rightfully so, because, Ben Simmons hurts the spacing for Joel Embiid to really operate one-on-one against his opponents in the post. If Ben Simmons is around the three-point line, you can leave Ben Simmons and go and try to double Embiid and make it hard for him. But even when we saw in the last time we saw the 76ers when they didn't have Ben Simmons against the Boston Celtics, Joel Embiid still kind of floated around that three-point line and settled. Occasionally a little bit too much than you would prefer, especially when the Boston Celtics don't really have a rim protector that can compete with Joel Embiid on a block. But I think that is an overall reflection of his body, him being in shape. Settling is a basketball trait for sure, but I think settling is also your endurance and your stamina. The more tired you are, the less likely it is that you're going to absorb a lot of your energy to go all the way to the basket. So that's when you begin to see players settle because they're so tired and drained that they don't want to go all the way to the basket. Then have to go all the way back on defense, then back down the court all the way to the back. So they'll settle. They'll settle, whether it's in the NBA, whether it's college, whether it's high school, whether you're at your local rec league or at the YMCA. You'll see more settling from guys who just aren't in physical shape to go up and down the floor from block to block. So from that aspect alone, Daryl Morey is facing a different circumstance than what he had in Houston with James Harden kind of being a ball-dominant guard who's going to score. Then you put him in a pick-and-roll offense. Then you realize you want more shooting around him. Then you're put in a situation to where you have to just go all small or nothing. And then that situation unravels and just kind of explodes and blows up in your face. Now, boom, Daryl Morey is here with another chance and another opportunity with somebody he has a relationship with in Doc Rivers. They both worked together when Doc Rivers was the coach of the Boston Celtics, which ultimately won a championship. But I think this is great. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I think it's great for the 76ers because Daryl Morey has a history of being aggressive and being willing to make the moves that he thinks and believes is necessary for the team to win championships. And that's one of the biggest things that I love and respect about Daryl Morey as a GM and now I guess as the head and president of basketball operations is that he's aggressive. I think that's how you have to be when you want to win a championship, especially for a team like Philadelphia who they're not going to be too much happy with just making playoffs anymore. Like that was cool after the trusted process situation, after sucking and tanking for so long, making the playoffs was cool. But now they've made the playoffs for like the last 3 years. They've had a high level taste of success. And now the last part of it is to ultimately win or play in a finals, for the championship. And I think Daryl Morey has shown us that he's willing to take and make the move that he thinks is worth putting them in a position. Now, how exactly he's going to make the moves is where I think it gets interesting. I think Elton Brand has kind of put that team in a situation where the moves can be made, but they're going to have to get creative. And they're going to have to get real creative because of the money that they've given to Al Horford and Tobias Harris. The draft history with like Zaire Smith trading here for Mikal Bridges, in hindsight, doesn't look too well. I think you have some things there because obviously you have Ben Simmons, you have Joel Embiid. I think Josh Richardson works there. I like Shake Milton. I think you can bring back Glenn Robinson, bring back Alec Burks, and then whatever you decide to do with that 21st overall pick is going to be very, very essential. But it's going to be it's going to be interesting, man. It's really going to be interesting. Doc Rivers at the head coaching helm after what we last saw with him with the Clippers, and then also Daryl Morey, last thing we saw with him with the Rockets. Now them both coming to a team that's been full of disappointment with the 76ers. It just makes it for an interesting journey, and it makes me excited to see what direction and what exactly are they going to do. I'm going to be highly surprised if the Philadelphia 76ers go into next year without one move being made. As soon as Daryl Morey signed his name on a contract, he picked up that phone and got to work because this team needs some changes. It just is what it is. I think there's some changes out there that can be made. And I love the fact, like I mentioned, how aggressive he is. But I think he can also get creative because there's some guys out there on the market for Philadelphia to go and chase and increase their chances of making a run. I think when you think of names like Buddy Hield, you know what I mean? Like Buddy Hield could be tremendous with the 76ers. Tremendous. And all it would take for that to happen is some type of creativity. You look at a team like the New York Knicks who said they've been willing to take on monstrous or disastrous contracts. Unloading a Tobias Harris contract or unloading Al Horford contract, it doesn't put the 76ers in a situation where they're below the cap and can now go and sign somebody. In order for them to be under the cap fully to go and be aggressive in this free agency class, they would more than likely have to not only get rid of both Tobias Harris and Al Horford contract, but they would also have to renounce all of the free agents and guys that they have on team or player options. They would have to let them go. So I think the likelihood of them pulling off a situation where they can trade Al Horford and Tobias Harris is, I don't want to say highly unlikely, but it's more than unlikely versus likely. But like I said, if you put in a third team like the New York Knicks who's willing to take on somebody's contract, it can help facilitate a trade for a guy like Buddy Hield. Maybe you and the Kings can't figure it out, so you bring in a third team like the New York Knicks to help bridge the gap or be the link to the missing piece of the puzzle. And you can potentially have somebody like Buddy Hield complementing a duo like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Some of the things that I've seen when I heard this announcement was people photoshopping James Harden in a Philadelphia 76ers jersey. I don't know if that's real. I don't know if we need to be looking towards that direction just because Morey is with the 76ers. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even understand that logic of trying to do something all over again. You know what I mean? Like I don't think or expect Daryl Morey to take what he did in Houston and apply it to the 76ers. There's going to be some things that he does that's probably similar, but I would expect a lot of different things from Daryl Morey because that just didn't work. So he should probably leave that alone. I've also seen like Ben Simmons with a Timberwolves jersey on. I don't know what in the hell the 76ers would want to do with the Minnesota Timberwolves and giving up Ben Simmons. I don't know what you benefit from that. The first overall pick doesn't make sense with Philadelphia. I've seen that report a lot before they even got Daryl Morey. Reports that Doc Rivers is going to want to move Ben Simmons for the number one pick to get LaMelo Ball. I think that's going backwards. I think that's going back. For Minnesota, that could be a come up. D'Lo, Ben, and Cat is a come up, especially with Cat's shooting ability. That you put Ben Simmons with the best shooting big of all time. That's something that will work for Minnesota. But for Philadelphia, I don't like that at all, and I don't understand why that is also out there in the rumor world. So if I am a 76ers fan or just an NBA fan in general, I would expect Daryl Morey to be aggressive as he always is, because the 76ers definitely need to improve. And they're not going to just settle for being in the playoffs, especially when you look around the landscape of the NBA. Everybody is in a situation where they're trying to get better or is getting better. And so that makes me feel like moves are going to be made. Getting Daryl Morey means that this offseason, whenever it's going to start, whether it's going to be a day after the draft or whatever, moves will be made for Philadelphia. It's just that I don't know what level of moves to expect. Or are they going to be high level? Are they going to be low? I don't know. But I can guarantee that Daryl Morey is going to make moves. And I think this is something that's going to be interesting for all of us. That's pretty much a wrap on my thoughts and concerns to this topic. I know a lot of y'all just needed and wanted that reaction instantly and immediately. So I'm like, let me get my guys and my girls what they want. So there you have it. Hopefully more news will unravel about what potentially the Philadelphia 76ers want or are going to try to do. And the more that comes out, the more we'll react to it or talk about it in the NBA weekly episodes that are coming up. Another thing that I did come out and see is that they did bring Sam Cassell, a part of Doc Rivers' culture staff. So he'll be coming from Clippers with Doc to now Philadelphia, which is, I think, another good thing for a guy like Ben Simmons, with a point guard whisperer like Sam Cassell, who's helped develop the shooting of like John Wall when he was with the Wizards and whatnot. But leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts, your feedback. Let me know your mind and your reaction to seeing Daryl Morey join the Philadelphia 76ers, whether you're a 76ers fan or not. Or let me know what are some moves you would hypothetically want to see the 76ers do. And give me realistic moves, man. I don't want to see James Harden getting traded for Josh Richardson and Tobias Harris. Like, give me real moves that you think are realistically possible for the 76ers to do in this offseason to improve their chances of making the finals for the next year. Thank y'all. Big Stacks out.